first question I'd like to ask you, I know, like, as far as your paintings are concerned, and also in your movies, there's that running theme of kind of like decay and like the natural process of death. And a lot of the transcendental meditation, when I'm listening to Hagelin especially, like they talk about unified field, and I'm kind of confused as far as is the unified field? Do they believe that it's something that, because he says it's everywhere, like all around you, and this is the unified field of consciousness, but then it kind of makes me wonder about death, and like, does this have to do with like whenever we die? Do you believe that then the consciousness doesn't continue, or do you believe it continues? Like
continues, continuum. You are you, and you just keep being you. It's like there's a guy in a very old car, and he kind of drives it down to the junkyard and sits in it for a while, and then gets out of the car and closes the door and walks away. The car is the body,
right?
But you just keep going.
Do you think there'll be like a sense of awareness of the consciousness, or do you think it'll be just more like a unity?
After death?
Yes.
Well, here's what I have heard, okay? Yeah. The body is real special. And so you need to do your expanding of consciousness while you got a body. So they say, make hay while the sun shines. Start your meditation, dive within, transcend, experience that unified field, because that experience infuses it, and you grow in consciousness. And what are you growing? You're growing your enlightenment. You're expanding consciousness. The human being's potential is infinite consciousness, higher state of enlightenment. And in between, lives, you can't do that. You might have some awareness, you might not, depending on how much consciousness you have.
Right.
If you were super highly evolved, in between lives, you'd be just, boom, you'd be totally, aware. And maybe you'd have to come back one more time and finish the job. You're not going to get out of school until you graduate. And so, but you can only do your work with the body. This is what I've heard.
Definitely.
I'm going to change the subject just a little bit.
Sure.
I really enjoyed what you were talking about yesterday about your films and kind of just allowing your creativity to flow and not really forcing it, but just kind of looking within and going deep and just letting it come out. And I'm a photographer, and I have a lot of people ask me what things mean in my photography. But I have a really difficult time expressing to them where it came from or how it came. People ask me a lot, where did you get the idea? And I try to let my ideas just naturally flow, so I don't always know where they come from or what it means. And I'm sure people ask you often what things mean that maybe you don't know or don't know how to express. How do you answer those questions?
I say, I have to know what it means for me. And I also say, a lot of times I get ideas, I don't know what they mean. I love the idea. And I always say, too, I love it for the idea and the way, say, cinema could translate it, or the wood shop could translate it, or a photograph could translate it, or a lithograph. Ideas come for everything. So a cinema idea, I never get a whole film at once. I just get fragments. I don't know what this fragment means, but I think about it. And lo and behold, somewhere along the line, I say, okay, that means this to me. But I don't say what it means to other people, because what is the film for? Right. You could just say a bunch of things. It's the experience in that world of cinema that you build it for. And so, at a certain point, words just take away from everything. And but you have to know what it means for you. And ideas can come from any place.
I base I get a lot of my ideas for my paintings out of my lucid dreams and things like that, and or just the most minute of, visual, like just the corner of that chair with that pattern might later, turn into this massive thought out project. But have you ever had an idea, and I know this is kind of a personal question, because I know I've had some where I've had an idea that actually scared you, and you didn't know, like have you ever had any ideas that you were afraid to actually transfer into your medium?
No.
That's awesome.
But I say you can go to dark places, and in a way, meditation is even a more powerful going to a well-lit diner. Like I used to say, I love to go to well-lit diners and have a coffee and daydream into all kinds of dark areas. You can come back to the well-lit diner, the safety of the well-lit diner.
Yeah.
And with meditation, the more you infuse bliss, and you're rocking with this bliss, you can go anywhere. You've got enough of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know you're working on a documentary right now, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you're a very creative person who, in your films, you tend to have a lot of creative control and things like that. Do you find it a challenge to be working on a documentary where there's a lot more of the unexpected things that come up?
There's not that much unexpected. I know exactly what's there.
Yeah.
It's completely different than normal,
Yeah.
I never made a documentary. It's a representation of something that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's not the whole story, because the whole story is 300 hours.
Right.
So it's, but it's a representation of something that happened. And I'm trying to get it, I'm trying just to get familiar enough with the 300 hours so I can start getting it down.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm working on.
That's great. And one question that's a little off subject as well. Are you a fan of the original Twilight Zone?
Sure.
My favorite show, and I just love it. And I had to ask if you.
Yeah, it's a great show.
I was really, because last time we came here, you were working on Inland Empire, and I got to see it in theater, luckily, and it was very just in awe of, because I like to consider myself a subconscious painter. Like, I don't ever want to think about it, which is really strange, because a lot of my paintings are realistic, in a sense. They're more Baroque-esque, more real high contrast figure work, but it's still, I'm not thinking about them while I'm painting them. It's just a process. And your films are my biggest inspiration for my paintings, because I see a lot of courage in your filmmaking, as far as you can really tell that it's a subconscious experience, to where, and I had heard you didn't have a script for Inland Empire necessarily?
No, I had absolute script, but not all at once.
Yeah.
I would get a scene by scene by scene, shoot a scene, get another idea, shoot a scene. Didn't know anything was relating until more ideas came. But when you're doing your paintings, you're saying you're not thinking, but I would really beg to differ with you.
Well, yeah,
because you're letting things flow.
Right.
So you're letting things flow, and also, like, even if it's just bang, 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 action and reaction, always. How come you put your brush there instead of over here? Because that feels correct there. And it's got to be this color, and it's got to be that kind of a push, and it's got to be that kind of a thing. And you think as you do it, but then it may not be what you want. So you've got to sometimes destroy something to get that, or that leads to something else. It's action and reaction, and it's a flow of creativity, flow of ideas. And they're not all there at once, but you do one thing, act and another thing, it's an idea or a thought that leads you to the next thing. And I guarantee you that flow will get bigger and smoother the more you expand that container of consciousness. It's like a jazz thing. It's like you're painting jazz.
Yeah.
And that flow gets so good. And then the happiness in that doing.
Like, I learned how to meditate through painting, because painting kind of taught me how to open up.
No.
I would like to
argue with you a little bit about that.
Yeah? Oh, yeah, I'm looking for it.
Okay, good. People have, the word meditation, there's many forms of meditation. Mm-hmm. Many forms. Now, this is your second trip to David Lynch Weekend. Mm-hmm. And you've listened to a lot of talks. Now, One of the things you heard this weekend is when a person truly transcends. Now, the transcendent level of life is the deepest level of life,
Right.
eternal, unbounded level. We're up here. Now, if painting could open up this deepest level, you'd be doing transcendental meditation when you painted.
Right.
But on the EEG machine, they'll show you that when you paint, or I paint, we're using a little part of our brain on this side of our head for painting. Absolutely no transcendence. No transcendence. And so I just want you to realize that a lot of people tell me, oh, I do my meditating on the beach at, Sao Paulo or whatever, right? Or I don't even know if there's a beach there, in Rio. I lay on the beach, that's my form of meditation. Someone else says, I do my meditation as jogging every morning. It's just the most beautiful meditation. It's the wrong word, because if you really want to jet forward and really expand your ball of consciousness, really, you've got to get it from that deepest level. Transcendental meditation, just picture it as a key that opens the door to that. Nothing more. That is what you want. What it opens the door to, the unified field, pure bliss consciousness, eternal, unbounded, infinite ocean of it. That's what you want to experience.
I have one more thing then, and then I know you've had a long day. I run an art gallery in Kansas City, and I'm really interested in helping the foundation. I was wondering if there's any way we could try to use art to help support your foundation as far as selling paintings, things like that, set up a show to where we could sell art.
You're a good guy. You're really a good guy. Now, so look at music. They do music all the time to raise money, for things, and they are more and more using art to do that.
Yes, we have a very successful auction coming up next weekend for the foundation we work for that makes lots of money selling art. And I was wondering if we could, Bob told me to send him an email, but also to run it by you, of just this idea of trying to, because you're a painter as well, and I know a lot of painters who would probably love to support the foundation, donate works, and we could have an auction or something to support the foundation.
Do it, and I'll send you stuff also.
Thank you so much.
I
really appreciated hearing you talk, and I got a lot from it, and really inspires me in my art. So thank you very much.
Good deal, you guys. All right. Okay,
Thank
it's really good talking to you.
Awesome.
You too.